These kids think they're playing a game.
Teenagers are not thinking about the harm they could cause.
To them, it's not a real world.
It's something that makes you feel powerful.
It's an entry point for budding hackers.
Crime groups are giving those kids everything they need to be successful within their organization while the parents have no idea what's going on.
My son started hacking at the age of 8, and that's when he ordered a gun. He started to spend a lot of time behind the computer, and he started ordering things on the internet without paying. First like pizzas, but then also bigger things. And later on, he ordered a gun that was actually delivered to our home. It was quite difficult for me to understand what was going on.
I mentor kids who have been identified as potential cyber criminals. A lot of the kids that I've dealt with come from the same backgrounds. Those kids run a huge risk of falling into that trap of being groomed and becoming cyber criminals. Because a lot of the tools kids have learned how to use through gaming.
Online gaming and hacking, they are linked in some really intrinsic ways. I want to try to figure out if you can generate some kind of advantage or identify some kind of vulnerability in the system that will increase the coins or the currency that you have. There's motivation between generating some kind of advantage in the game and being able to hack.
He had a job on the side gaming, where he would game on certain accounts. He would keep the levels high, and then the person that owned the account could play during the weekends at a very high level.
One of the reasons that so many hackers are children is because hacking is fun. If you've ever gotten into some place you shouldn't have, whether you're trespassing, those little bits of mischief can be really entertaining, especially when your peers are also in on it with you.
Online, there are several challenges to use your IT skills amongst certain internet forums. I think he spent a month trying to figure out how to order the gun and to get it delivered to our home. Poland to Bulgaria, and then you can make sure it passes through the customs without being checked. He opened it and he was really, really excited that he managed to get the gun delivered to our home. I was completely shocked. I immediately decided to do things differently at home.
Organized crime, just by watching them in the games, they're able to identify these kids who have that capability, that knowledge. The first thing is gain trust. Find things about them that they enjoy. So once you gain that information and gain that trust, then you move on to, well, can you do this? Have you seen this? Those children that usually are into the technology and the gaming are usually not the in crowd in school. Once they find somebody that's groomable, then they bring them into their fold, make them one of them, and make them feel important. Once they get that trust, they open up that line of communication. Then the goal is to isolate that person from anything that would deter them from being groomed.
He started to wake up at night, to sit behind a computer, and he was really, really stressed. And that's when we found out that he was working with a group of international hackers.
Hacking has kind of a mythical aura to it. It has a bit of a cool factor. That is, of course, also due to a lot of series and movies, how hackers are being portrayed. That actually attracts a lot of young people that might want to prove their ego or boost their ego, might want to acquire maybe some bragging rights. I think that's just something that comes with it.
The need for social acceptance becomes really, really strong. And so if that community is up to hacking, going in places they really shouldn't, and transgressing beyond normal teenage mischief, a lot of teens will go along.
It seemed that he was hiding quite a lot of the information, and he was even using a code word. So each time I would enter the room, you would say, "Hey, Pitt is joining us." In the end, I figured out that that's a code word they use when Parrot is in the room, so they change the screens.
Cybercrime groups know the law. They know the law. It's a lot of work for organized crime group to groom kids, but it's safe for them because they can have the child commit the crime and they walk away with clean hands.
One of the things that children are asked to do by criminals is to use IP address or perhaps use a bank account. Money laundering via children. It could be hidden buying and selling items within games. And for children, it's often not really visible what the crime is.
A lot of young hackers are hitting really big targets. They're hitting government targets, they're hitting banks. A lot of times it's because they're being prompted to do so by other people in their social network, people who are typically older, and using these kids as a way to get their own goals met without having to put their skin on the line, so to speak.
The kid that I'm working with right now that just got out of prison for hacking TalkTalk, he started out gaming, and that graduated to hitting an entire telecom.
Teenagers are not thinking about the harm they could cause. There was a story of a teenage hacker. He broke into this bank and circumvented their systems, showed it to his friends, and thought it was the funniest thing ever. And then the FBI showed up at his door. And that was not something that he had ever thought could possibly happen, because to him, this was a prank. This was harmless fun.
It's so easy these days because a lot of kids have laptops, mobile phones, and basically you can do a hack with a few clicks. It's quite a big issue to prevent young people from hacking. They often don't know what's legal and what's illegal.
Children and teenagers are amazing. Their brains are just developing rapidly, and their ability to learn new things and adapt, it's really amazing to watch. However, there are parts of their brain that they literally lack, and those parts are related to things like anticipating consequences. This is just a neurological state that it has not developed as part of their brain yet.
I spoke to the police, but they all said, well, it's not really possible for a child to do anything like that. So you may be perhaps exaggerating the story. So I trained myself into cybersecurity, and I now like to use some of the knowledge and the experience to help others.
There's a lot that we can do as an industry and as a civilization to protect kids. Giving the kids a second chance and taking that knowledge and that experience and trying to put it to good use. I think opportunity really opens the doors to reformation. Not only will it help us protect the internet and protect our future, but it also gives that kid a future.
When I talk to parents or do workshops, most people are quite grateful to get some insight and to get some suggestions. I think the more you know about hacking and online behavior, the easier it is to set limits.